Dolce.
Mike Dolce.
Mike Dolce.
Mike Dolce.
Mike Dolce.
Mike Dolce, my friend.
And Dolce really changed MMA in this regard. You know, when he was coming through, like I said, we were teammates. We met every day at 3 o'clock and we were working hard. Dolce, though, he had secrets. Dolce actually came along and changed all. He said, you don't need to do any of that. When Dolce came in, he just had a very small group. Guys like me that were his teammates that kind of had an end to him. And then that group grew. But everything that we do to cut weight in the world of all of it came specifically from Mike Dolce.
Whoa, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mike Dolce Show. Today, we want to talk about the great Joe Rogan and his comments with the also great BMF Max Holloway on a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Now, Joe makes a statement regarding weight cutting, and I want to discuss that with you guys and maybe show why this might not be a viable option, although very well intended. We'll break it down. Now, very, very conscious of posting other people's information. So this is editorial. Joe, please don't flag me. Don't ban me. I'll link below to the episode. Everybody should be subscribed to Joe's channel also, by the way, listening to his shows. But let's briefly talk about this here, shall we?
With him now. I'm going to kick his calves. I'm going to move around.
You need to talk to somebody, brother. That would be pretty cool.
Nobody listens to me.
Maybe UFC 400, they do something.
Bro, I had all sorts of plans. They don't listen to me. And I wouldn't listen to me either. They got a great business.
Yeah.
It's real successful. You can't make all these changes. That's ridiculous. My other thing that I would say is you got to get rid of weight cutting, and you can do it. It can be done with hydration tests, and you got to give people more options for weight classes.
Yeah.
All right, let's pause right there very briefly. Joe says, let's get rid of weight cutting. With respect, that's not going to happen. It's not viable, right? We can't get rid of weight cutting because that means, and Max goes on to say, hey, man, I'm 145 pounds. GSP fights at 170. I'd love to fight at 170, my walk-around weight, but GSP walks around in the high 190s. So how do we get rid of weight classes? Well, Joe goes on to give his thoughts. Now, he does mention hydration tests here. And what is a hydration test? You know, we'll break that down here in a moment for you. I have a lot of experience with hydration tests as an amateur wrestler. I started taking hydration tests as a 13-year-old. So I have 35 years of personal experience. Also, I work with some of the greatest interscholastic and collegiate athletes in the nation, one of which is Anthony Knox, a 3-time New Jersey State wrestling champion as a junior. So he's 3 for 3 right now. He's got his senior year coming up. He'll be one of, I think, 3. He'll be the 4th, I think, wrestler in New Jersey history to ever win 4 state titles. He's won Fargo. He's won Who's Number One. I mean, Anthony Knox is one of the best. So hydration tests, I'm going to explain why these are an absolute joke. And what ONE FC is doing also, people talk about ONE FC. Well, it's a joke. And I'm going to explain that for you guys here in a moment. Most people don't know. They don't know. Let me give you the insider perspective here. But let's hear what Joe has to say.
Yeah.
They should have an option every 10 pounds minimum.
Every 10 pounds would be cool. I think with the weight cutting would be fun without no weight cutting. But then we see guys like other promotions and people are missing the hydration test anyway. So like people are still trying to do, they're just,
Right.
they're going to get, whatever you do, they're going to gain it. Cause somebody always is going to look for the advantage no matter what it is.
But there's a way to do it where if you have a big organization like the UFC, think about what they do with drug-free sport now. It used to be USADA. They'll find you wherever you are and give you a random drug test. Well, why can't they find you and put you on a fucking scale and get a hydration read on you and go,
make sure,
Max, you're 172 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, you're not 145 pounds, Max.
Yeah.
You're 100.
All right, let's stop it there. So a couple things to unpack here. Max goes on to say, hey, over in ONE FC where they do conduct hydration tests, I will say, having worked with athletes inside ONE FC, being friends with many of the admin inside ONE FC has a worse weight cutting problem than the UFC. It's just not heavily promoted. They don't get the same media coverage that we do over there. The suffering that the athletes go through in ONE FC because of the hydration test is horrific. John Wayne Parr openly discussed what his challenges were with the hydration test. He was basically cutting weight hard, weighing in for almost an entire week, prior to, I believe, his last fight, in which didn't go so great for him, I believe, because of the rehydration test. Had he just had a simple weight cut, 1 day weight cut, step on the scale, you make it or you don't, JWP would have been able to make that weight and perform at a much higher and safer level. Hydration test, let me break it down for you. I'm not going to tell you how to beat a hydration test. There are 13-year-old kids in New Jersey who can beat the hydration test legally. I was one of them back in the 90s. Every decent high school athlete knows how to beat a hydration test. It's so easy to certify 2 weight classes lower than you technically should. Legally, nobody's breaking any rules. There's nothing wrong. It's just simply how you spend the day, the 4 to 12 hours before the test. I can't tell you how to do it because, that would be ill-advised. But let me tell you right now, it's very easy. Laughably easy. So the athletes competing over at 1FC, they are just as big or bigger than many of the athletes in the UFC. The ones who know how to do it. The ones who don't are suffering horrifically and are exposed to even greater levels of health-related injury due to that process. Now, what Joe does say is, why don't the drug enforcement officials, the new version of USADA, I forget what they're called now, but if you can drug test an athlete, why can't you just drop a scale down and put them on the scale and weigh them in? Okay. Couple issues with that. Who's verifying the scale is accurate? Where'd that scale come from? Is that an accurate scale? Did that scale get shipped under the bottom of a plane? Was it in the back of the car? Did it get thrown with the luggage? Fair question. Now, I have a few $1,000 Tanita scales. Those don't often or don't always match up to the official scale. That right there is an issue, but that's not even the biggest issue. Here's what happens. Hydration test. The athletes, the athlete's just drinking normally. The athlete just drank half a gallon. Our athletes are drinking 1.5 gallons of water a day. Our athletes are eating 4 to 6 meals a day. The USADA dude shows up. The athlete just got done a full day of eating. The athlete's consuming 3 to 6 grams of salt as a part of their healthy meal plan. That athlete can easily be 10, 12 pounds heavier at night than they are in the morning. How do we quantify what their accurate weight is? We don't. We can't. Now, let's say, well, I don't want to break it down because then I'm going to divulge some of the secrets of how to easily and safely, legally beat a hydration test. But let me tell you, if that happens, every one of my athletes knows what to do to legally beat the test, assuming the scale is validated and accurate. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to challenge that. Our athlete, our manager, our agent, our team, our lawyer, especially at the higher level, the 6 and 7 figure level, we're going to say, bullshit, man. I saw that dude pull his janky ass scale out of the back of his car, drop it on the ground. That's not a validated scale. That's not a certified scale. You can't certify that scale and then throw it onto a plane or in the back of a car, show up at my house, right? Now, I don't disagree with Joe's premise. We need to do something about weight cutting. Well, let me tell you what we should do about weight cutting. The only thing, and for everyone listening, I will tell you, I don't know of anyone more experienced than I am in weight cutting, and there's definitely nobody more successful. I am the only elite weight management coach in the history of combat sports with a 100% success ratio over my 20-plus year career. And not only did my athletes always make weight, I worked with the worst weight cutters in all of the UFC. Johnny Hendricks, Thiago Alves, Rampage, Vitor Belfort. Remember? Now, there's many, many others, but I'm just saying these are athletes who had chronic histories and challenges on the scale and missing weight. Well, they made weight easily every time. Now, easy is relative. Weight cutting's hard. They made weight every single time we worked together. And I only say that so you understand the experience that I have. I have a 100% success ratio to restate that again because it's worth restating. But also, I know the contracts. I see the contracts. I know what the coaches are saying. I know what the agents are saying. I know what the managers are saying. I know the conversations behind the curtain, not just on my athletes and the teams I've worked with, but the other athletes and the other teams. The athletes will happily give up 20% of their purse to not cut the last 3 pounds, to have a competitive advantage, to get the win, to move up in the rankings, to get to the next tier of pay schedule. Full stop. Nobody cares if you missed weight but knocked out your opponent in devastating highlight reel fashion. Josh Emmett is a great example. Josh Emmett misses weight, gets a beautiful highlight reel knockout victory, and his very next fight, he's promoted to the main event, gets a big, big financial bonus. Why? Who cares about missing weight at that point? This is the mindset. So hydration tests don't work. They don't work. ONE FC did it. They don't work. The UFC and Andy Foster over in California. What happened to all that bogus government bureaucracy crap? We laugh at that. Oh, I'm gonna videotape stepping on a scale. Oh, okay, Andy. Hey, get me the Andy Foster scale. Wink, wink. Oh, sure. Come on. This is real talk. So how do we curb weight cutting? Easy. We have to attack and punish the only thing the athlete cares about. It's money. Nobody cares about 20%. And it's most states, it's only 20% of your show and sometimes win money. Not of your bonuses, not of your side letter, not of your pay-per-view. The disclosed show and win money covers the cost of the training camp for these athletes. They don't care. They care about the side letters, the bonuses, the pay-per-view points. That's what they care about. So here's what we do. First time missing weight by 0.1 or 10.0 pounds, it's an immediate 50% fine of all revenue received by the athlete for that competition. That's show money, that's win money, that's side letters, that's bonuses, that's pay-per-view money, that is sponsorship money. 50% of your revenue goes to your opponent, not the commission. Because some of these bullshit commissions, they charge the athlete, fine the athlete 20%. They take 10, they give 10% to the actual athlete who's going to be competing. And the commission takes 10% to do nothing. 50% of all money earned goes to the opponent should they choose to accept the fight, which is also the opponent's right. If the opponent chooses not to accept the fight, the opponent gets their show money. And this is a side note, shame on every athlete or shame on every manager who does not have this written into the contract. If we make weight successfully and our opponent misses weight or is pulled from the card for any reason, we are guaranteed our show money. Full stop. If your manager doesn't have that in your contract, you need to seriously rethink your management. Remember, I see all the contracts. I have a strong business background. I run multiple businesses, right? I'm not just a pretty face here. I have access. I have information. I have deep conversations with everybody behind the scenes. It's not all chicken and rice, my friends. I understand how this sport works, how the athletes think, how the game is played. And I'm telling you, an insider's perspective. Also, 50% of the purse, all money, immediately penalty goes to the opponent. And also the athlete who misses weight, first offense, 6-month non-compete, cannot fight for 6 months, and has to go through rigorous medical testing just to be allowed to get back into the pool. Their contract is frozen, which matters also. Their contract is extended those 6 months, okay? And then they have to go through all the testing at their own expense to make sure that they are healthy enough to compete again. And they cannot compete within 6 months after their first infraction of missing weight. If they miss weight a second time, 50%, same exact financial penalty. Now they have a 1-year non-compete. They cannot fight for 1 year, thereby losing their ability to earn an income from competitive mixed martial arts. Again, this is to decentivize the gamification of weight cutting. There is no longer a vested financial interest in trying to stuff yourself down into a smaller weight class when the financial penalties are now increasingly higher and higher. You will not get the main event. Your contract is frozen. You will not get a bigger pay bump even with a win. So these athletes now, they're going to say, like, son of a bitch, I'm not squeezing down the 145 anymore and barely making it. The risk is too high. I'm moving up to 55. I'm moving up to 70. I'm not going to take this short notice fight on 4 weeks or 6 weeks notice. I'm going to give myself a full training camp, but even more so, these athletes now are incentivized to stay in better shape year round. They're incentivized to act like professional athletes year round. I will say this in closing, mixed martial arts athletes are, as a group, the least professional of every professional sport. Mixed martial arts athletes will go through a training camp before their fight, which most of the time is a fat camp. And as soon as their fight is over, they'll take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks and party and get fat and booze it up and binge it up. And then they will complain that they should make NFL money, NBA money. It's a joke. It's a joke. If you want to make Tom Brady money, you need to live year round like Tom Brady. If you want to make Kobe money, you need to live year round like Kobe did. If you want to have the respect that these legendary athletes have earned, well, then you must live the life and walk the walk, right? MMA contracts are the easiest professional contracts in all of sports. Make weight, fight. That simple. MMA athletes have a real hard time doing that. So these are my thoughts. Leave comments. What do you guys think with all of this? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I too harsh? I know that I'm not. You can be wrong. That's fine. You can be wrong. This is just the beginning. I mean, there's so much information in the world of MMA, weight cutting, combat sports, weight cutting, which is wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, judo, jiu-jitsu, and of course, you know, all of the other, you know, ancillary sports that are on the fringes. At the end of the day, my goal, my job is to help support athlete safety while extending their careers and their earning ability during that period of time. As I tell all my athletes before we start working together, my goal is not for you to make weight. My goal is not for you to win this fight. My goal is not for you to win the world title. My goal is not for you to make millions of dollars. My goal is for you to tell your great-grandchildren about the time you made weight, won the fight, won the world title, made millions of dollars, and established a legacy for your family. That is my job. We will never, ever change that hierarchy of importance. Health before everything. Thank you guys for being here. Comments below, like this video. Let me know more about what you guys think. And until next time, boom.